Welcome back to Valorant at Midnight. We are already on to our third video of our Attack and Defend series. This is an introductory series where I help you understand and strategically think about movement and rotations across the map. If you haven't already, you can find how to attack and defend Ascent and Split on my channel, but for now, let's talk about attacking and defending Haven. While it may look like on the surface Haven has 3 lanes with which to attack and defend, I would actually go so far as to argue that it has 3.5, but we'll discuss that more in a moment. What makes Haven unique is the fact that it also has 3 sites with which to attack and defend. This has never been seen before, as most games have generally trended towards 2 sites, and so in that sense you could say Valorant has broken tradition. With the addition of a 3rd site, general opinion was that Haven was actually attacking side favoured. I don't actually agree with this. A notable area within Haven is Garage, and this would make up my 0.5 of the 3.5 lane in Haven, and I'll go into more depth as we talk about attacking and defending. So for those of you who have watched my previous videos on attacking and defending Ascent and Split, you know that I favour a more hunting strategy. For those of you who don't know what hunting is, it's where you spread your team across the whole of the map and look for picks to spread the enemy thin before you commit yourself to one site. But Haven is the only map I don't recommend this on. That's because from round start, defenders can set up advantageous lines of sight across all 3 sites. That is, whether it's on C platform looking down C long, B mid looking into B window, or A long looking into A lobby. An early pick here can definitely set back the tempo for the attacking team. But we're going to talk about how to make it easier to attack each site. When attacking B or C, you have the option to go straight down into the sites or take a pincer-like movement through Garage. Let's start off with C. When pushing C, your best strategy is to immediately smoke off platform or even backside. This prevents any agents who are lurking with possibly AWPs or marshals to pick you off as you're rushing down C long. Alternatively, you can use a Sova arrow to ward them off. Once you do get on site, you want to immediately clear both connector and back site. Once you've cleared them off, you can wall off one of these areas, and that minimizes the point of contact your team has to just one area. This will allow your team to set up and possibly rotate to look for flanks. Now that you've established a foothold on C, most agents will actually plant the spike in the corner of C box, just in front of connector Garage. I don't think this is correct. You should definitely be planting for C long, so your team can play off-site and defend from further away. So now that you've planted the spike, the enemy team is in full rotation and your sage wall is coming down, you want to make sure that your team is split evenly across the whole of the site. At least have one agent back of C site looking for C link rotations, at least one agent near connectors looking for Garage, and 1 or 2 agents in C long or C cubby looking for any flanks. This will give your team the greatest chance to make sure they win that round. I don't think it's worth it to hold Garage if your team has planted C. That's because most CT rotations happen through C link or mid courtyard, so you'd have to be watching both sides of Garage at the same time. It's just safer to walk on to C site itself and block off or make it hard for the CT to get through connector. While attacking Garage can be quite difficult, successfully doing so can single out any CT agents on C site or alternatively support your team as they push through B. I don't recommend taking any 1v1 duels through bottom mid into C window, as again the CT can set up at the start of round. Instead, I would recommend pushing through mid doors with some sort of flash using Phoenix or Break before making sure C window is also clear. From here you can rotate directly into C if that's your team's objective, or make sure C link and back of B is clear as your team pushes into B. Just be aware that as you push into Garage, agents like Cypher with his tripwires or Raze with her grenades can be waiting for you. When attacking B, you want to make sure your attack doesn't fall flat from the start of the round. This can easily be done so by taking a bad peek from mid window and getting picked off. When pushing front B, definitely have agents with blinds and flashes to push through mid window and mid courtyard at the same time. This will force the CT to either backside or off to one of the links. As you move into B entrance, again make sure to use blinds and flashes to take favourable trades against any CTs hanging around the corners. At this stage and only this stage should you now smoke off A-Link and C-Link as your team clears the rest of back of B site. You can also Sage Wall one of the links to prevent points of contact for your team. Here, most players will plant on either side of the B door entrance. I don't think this is correct. You should definitely be planting in the middle of B entrance so your team from mid window can watch it. When attacking B solely, you have to be mindful of two things. That's a flank through garage and a flank through A. When done correctly, both of these flanks will put your team on the back foot. For this reason, I would recommend an agent who travels through garage or at the very least holds mid courtyard, and another agent who holds mid window who at the beginning of the round can look for flanks. As the round progresses, mid window should definitely be keeping an eye on plant. Ideally with B, you want to brute force the entrance, and once you've planted, have a more of a hands-off approach where you can watch from courtyard, window and look for flanks. This puts the onus on CTs to look for favourable gunfights, otherwise they will lose out to your better positions. When attacking A, you should push A long and A short simultaneously. However, there are 2 points of contention before you even reach the site. That will be A long and within A short itself. These are commonly held by CTs and can be very dangerous, as A long looks directly into A lobby and they can scout out your whole team, or A short can be held by somebody with a shotgun, or just outside of A short, somebody is sitting on top of one of those boxes. Again, you have to force the CTs to move. For this, I'd probably recommend a silver arrow down A long, which scares them off, or alternatively, use Reyna's blind, which is very good in tight spaces like A short. And that's all before you've even hit the site. Once you are on site, A heaven looks across the whole of the site and can control A long and A short, so smoking or blinding them off is paramount. If you face no resistance coming through A long and A short, definitely be wary, as there are generally 2 agents assigned to A. One of them is most likely to be heaven and the other lurking around A box, hell, or even the corners. Once you're on site, I personally like to sage wall off heaven while also slowing down tunnel, giving my team ample time to plant the spike. Planting the spike on A is pretty situational. There really isn't an ideal place. You can place it all around A box and place it for A short, or to watch over A long. If your team, however, has flipped the map and you're getting flanked, you can place it in front of hell and defend it from there. So here's where I don't think defending Haven is as unfavourable as most people make it out to be. While you have your team spread across the whole of the map, you have 2 very long routes for you to monitor, C long and A long, and those can give away positions of the enemy team immediately. Add that to the fact that Haven is very good for flanking and you can actually make quite a favourable defense. My suggestion for A site would be to not hold this solo. A long, as mentioned earlier, can tell you about enemy team movement, whereas A short can be a death trap for both teams. You can either play it quite aggressively and force them to come into you with blinds and smokes, or alternatively just wall them off and slow them down and allow your team to rotate. Once the enemy team does get to A, you can still use the boxes and heaven, as well as on top of the boxes, to block line of sight and give your team more time. The real strength of A is if it has been left uncontested. You can now start to prepare flanks if the enemy team has been spotted across the map. Just be aware of enemy team movement and make sure that they've appeared on the map and you're not just walking into a death trap. If the attacking team has managed to plant at A, then it can be quite difficult to retake this site if you just funnel down B link. Heaven is also very good, but only if your team is also attacking at the same time. Make sure to coordinate a heaven push, a B link push, and an A short push if you can, to try and retake the whole site. If you're defending B, it's much easier to just smoke B window than it is to take a pure 1v1 fight. This can be a much easier option for those of us who are still trying to practice our aim. Don't just hold B entrance, make sure to use the whole of the site, whether that's the sides, B site, or even B links if you're trying to play off site. This can give you many more angles to play with and keep the enemy team guessing as to where you are. This includes using the boxes on either side of the site and also using Sage's wall to give you elevation. If the attacking team has managed to plant a spike at B, don't panic. Ask whoever was guarding A long or A short to set up a flank into mid window, as well as make sure that you have garage control, or you can keep an eye on garage. If you manage to get a flank through garage and through A short, then you can basically clean up mid window, mid courtyard, and make it easier for your team to push through the B links. Don't just rush onto the B site, that makes it very easy for the attackers to pick you off. Make sure you have a coordinated push to retake the site. When solo defending C, you want to switch up your playstyle into a both passive and aggressive when needed. The reason I say this is that many times I've seen players just immediately face check C long and die on round start. This puts your team at a huge disadvantage as retaking C can be quite difficult. When defending C, make sure that you're using both the garage entrance, the C long entrance, as well as backside and platform to fully utilize the whole site. Don't ever be caught in the same angle more than 2 or 3 rounds in a row, as this can make you very predictable and an easy pick. If you successfully manage to defend C but you've just lost your garage agent, then make sure to move off of C, whether that is rotating through C link back to CT spawn or even heading further down C long and catching somebody else unaware. Once the enemy team has taken garage, they can easily cut off C and make you an easy kill. If the attacking team has managed to take C, then don't just mindlessly push into it. Much like B, you're going to need a coordinated effort to retake the site. This is going to include C-Link, Garage, as well as C-Long to retake. The most success I've had when retaking C is to smoke off C platform or C backside, as well as C long if my team doesn't have control of it. This forces the enemy team to move into the open, either near the boxes or to garage entrance, to make it easier for me and my team to notice where they are. Now that we're nearing the end of this video, let's not forget about both the rush rules and the defense rules that we came up with in the last video. Rush rule number 1 is to commit. Number 2 is to trade your kills. On the flip side for defense, defense rule number 1 is to stay alive, and rule number 2 is to not ability spam. Now that you've learned to strategically think about Haven and how to move about to successfully attack and defend, make sure to check out my other videos on attacking and defending Ascent and Split. Be sure to use the tips I've provided you for both your pubs and your ranked, which is coming very soon with patch 1.02. Other than that, you know the drill. If you did like the content, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you with my attack and defending on Bind.